Alright, so it is time for another tier list video because they're very easy to make. I like tier lists, and I came up with this one a long time ago. This was the original inspiration for my previous tier list where I just wanted to talk about animated villains, but I couldn't think of a good list of animated villains before now, and I've put zero thought into this video at all, and just compiled a bunch of pictures of villains that I like, or at least am familiar with. I didn't grab any ones that are still well-known animated villains, but ones that I don't have some kind of association to, because that really wouldn't be fun for me, even if somebody's like, oh, well, this character's better. If I don't know who that character is, or have a vague idea of who they are, and don't have any positive memories associated with them, then what the fuck are they doing on my list?
You talk fast.
Thanks. Anyways, I have Umbra Vulpes with me today.
Hello.
Because I was building this list of characters and she wouldn't stop looking at my screen and pointing them out. So I decided to have her on here. She does not know all of these characters, so yeah, that's going to be fun. Some of these are just going to be me putting them on there, and some of them are going to be her adding commentary and trying to argue with me about my placements of them. So it's going to be a great time. Alright, so you know what? You're the guest. You pick the first one.
Okay. Jasper.
Jasper.
Yes.
For those of you who do not know, this is Jasper from Steven Universe. Alright. I would put Jasper... And we have not seen Steven Universe Future, so if anything happens with Jasper, I have no idea. Just stating that right now. I'm going to put Jasper on Santa's naughty list, mid-tier, for villains.
I would go with that just because of her backstory and that she doesn't know all the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So she's doing what she thinks is right. I hate what she does, but she thinks it's right. And then she seems very sad later on.
Who knows? I don't know. I hear she has a big thing to do with Steven Universe Future, so I'm not making any judgments of her character. All I know is she's kind of a dick. Pretty abusive dick. Yeah, but I'll put her here just because she is an interesting villain for a time being. She keeps the story going. She builds an army. She does her own thing. And I think she drives a pretty powerful arc for Amethyst in the show, and I think that's pretty necessary for any good villain, because a villain is nothing without her hero, and I think, like, while she does fight Steven, the particular character that develops the most from her arc is Amethyst, and I think that
damaged the most is Lapis.
Yeah, Lapis didn't have a good time during her arc. Alright, cartoon villains, my choice.
Boy! I am your boy. What?
My eyes just went right here to my boy. I'm putting him up here. I do not think he is the toppest tier, but when I was a kid, Dark Danny was the shit. I absolutely loved this character because I love me an edgy boy. And this was like, I already loved Danny Phantom. This was an edgy, evil Danny Phantom, and that nostalgia has not worn off. I think he's just an absolute powerhouse, and I just absolutely love the episode thing he comes from. And I did not put characters on here from movies, and I think this might be considered a movie. I consider it a TV special, so that's my way of getting around it by having him on here, but any arguments against that? Because I'm pretty happy with him right there.
See, like, despite the fact that I did not grow up correctly, as you say it.
She didn't watch cartoons, guys.
I watched Danny Phantom, but I don't have a strong memory of him.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have to say, but he seems pretty badass. That's it.
Okay, nice. Yep, Dark Danny. Bad to the bone. Alright, I am gonna have to put... I don't know. Ooh.
Isn't it my turn?
Oh, I didn't know we were taking turns. I'm sorry, I thought this was my channel. Please continue.
I'm gonna go with Catra.
It's taken from me. If I win a fight, I lose the war.
Catra. Alright, where would you argue for Catra's placement?
Bad to the bone?
Bad to the bone. Alright. Why? Defend your argument. Give me a thoughtful response.
Catra, throughout all of She-Ra that's been put out, she just wants her to lose. She doesn't care what happens. The whole world can be blown up. And she's like, I don't care. I just don't want you to be happy because I'm always in second place. She does it to herself, but she even befriends and tops everyone else around her, including...
Wishes she could chop She-Ra, you know what I'm saying? Sorry.
Yes, you have your romance or ship between them. But, spoiler, like, she tops Hordak. Like, even she controls him. And so I think she's bad to the bone. I don't think she's the toppest tier of bad boys because
she is an weak baby.
She's a weak baby. She puts up a front, but at the same time, she does a lot of damage.
She does. She is a good villain because she is so driven by her hero relationship that it is her main drive. She doesn't care about taking over. She just wants to beat the people that she views as, like, having abandoned her or put her in this bad place. She's just been pushed to this point where she's just trying to prove that she's worth something. And as the show goes on, you just sort of watch her descend into her own madness a little bit, and it's a really fun character, so I totally think she deserves the bad to the bone one. Okay, since it's my turn, I don't know whether to pick one. I mean, like, we all know my boy Plankton. He's going right up to the baddest boy tier. Let me tell you.
Defend yourself.
Alright, this man is committed, right? He's got 20-something years into trying to seal his Krabby Patty secret formula, right? The boy has not given up.
20 years of failure.
He's not giving up. Determination. Alright.
Felicitations, malefactors! I am endeavoring to misappropriate the formulary for the preparation of affordable comestibles! Who will join me?
So yeah, Plankton has on occasion been somewhat threatening, like when he called in all of his hit cousins. What, you planted grass? Grass! Like, yeah, alright, he's had his moment, but most of the time he's a little more of, he gets squished on accident. Moving on.
No, I do love, I'm sorry. What is the thing that you always do for Simba?
But it's becoming
The clip of
increasingly
Plankton.
obvious.
I am small.
I can deny it no longer! I am small. Yeah, that's my dog. He's very angry at the world.
Laundry day? Yeah. Yep.
You seem to like black shirts quite a lot.
And it looks like you like it in big. Oh, I'm just saying.
Oops. Sorry about that.
I guess we're doing turns. Your turn.
Zuko.
Oh.
My edgy boy.
Your edgy boy.
I'm gonna say on Santa's naughty list.
Santa's naughty list? I would argue...
If not meanie.
I would... See, like, I'm not arranging this, and I explain this to you, embarrassing me on the internet. I'm not arranging them by, like, how evil they are, necessarily, but how good of villains they are, which I would... I'd put Zuko, like, up here, or here. I'd put him here. But make your argument. I'll leave him here until you make your argument.
My argument is, he's done some bad shit.
He has.
But at the same time, there have been times throughout the series in which he's saved Aang, and he shows that he has a heart, and he goes through it back and forth, but there's plenty of times where, like, he could have killed Appa, he could have killed Aang, he could have left Aang alone. Like, he's shown goodness in him that I can't say he's bad to the bone, and also, like, he kind of does things, like, he doesn't really think things through. Think about the North Pole. He fucking, like, picks up Aang, and he had no plan besides get to Aang. He had no plan. It's not very thought out. He's not evil. He's there for his honor.
Exactly, but here's the fundamental issue with your argument is, again, you're going out with the same idea of this is an evil ranking list. That's not what we're ranking. We're ranking whether or not he's a good villain, and that's taking a look at his character. And the fact that he has that complex dynamic is what makes when he does something bad, like betray his uncle, or he does something bad, like take something, you're like, oh, but you understand where he's coming from. You relate with him. You understand his drive. He's a compelling character and a memorable villain, even though he does have a redemption arc. And he's not the only person on this list that does have a redemption arc. So that's why I think he should be considered a bad to the bone villain, not because he's actually bad, but because he is a good villain for the good majority of the show, because it's not until really the third season
Mid-third
I'd
season.
say that his redemption arc starts to really come off. We see what leads up to it through the other two seasons. We see how he gets from the angsty, eye patch wearing emo kid to, the compelling character we have at the end. And yes, he does wear an eye patch right after he's injured. We don't see it until the third season when he has a flashback of a week after it happened.
Okay, I was about to say, like...
Ha! Anyways.
I'll agree to disagree with you. I still think he's on Santa's naughty list, but...
You're wrong, but
Okay.
whatever. Alright,
Pick one I don't know.
Pick one you don't know? Oh, 100% easy. GG, got this.
Gigi's not on the list.
Ha. Moving on.
These idiots are even dumber than you idiots!
Defend yourself to your audience.
He's Ludo.
From...
Star vs. the Force of Evil.
Got it.
I'll move him up to meanie tier. He has a tiny redemption arc. He's not intimidating. He's kind of just a joke villain. I guess I like him better when he has no relation with the hero, which is why I don't think he's a good villain. It's more interesting to see the later adventures that he gets into, which really don't circulate around her. It's just... Again, I like him better later on, but when he is the main focus of the show is probably at its least cool part, in my opinion, because as the show goes on, it's a show that becomes more serious and delves into bigger problems with the society and what's going on in their worlds. In the beginning, it's just a Monster of the Week beat 'em up, and Ludo's the villain for that. And it's again, it's where the show needed to start, but he's definitely not the villain that I think the show ultimately needed. They needed it at that point, but I meant he's not the big final villain. He's, he's okay.
Fair. Alright, so, the one I love, okay, I don't love him the most. But let's go with the Box Ghost.
Ha I am the Box Ghost! You cannot hold me within the confines of a cylindrical container!
Just,
Ghost.
oof. No, just oof.
Box Ghost.
Oof.
Box Ghost.
Babe, we only have so much time. Oof.
Explain yourself. Explain why you're wrong about the placement of the Box Ghost.
From my memory of the show, he doesn't really, he's never been intimidating. He's been there.
There's an entire episode where he's intimidating. There are two.
Out of how many episodes that he's in?
We're not even going to count the third season, so I don't know, 2 seasons?
He's like, I am the Box Ghost. No one takes him seriously. He's just kind of a joke.
He gets buff in the future and has a hook hand, and there's an episode, which could possibly be in the bad season, in which he gets a hold of Pandora's box and unleashes that shit on the world.
Cool, but...
Alright, moving forward. Alright. So... Alright, I'm gonna do another one, which you don't know.
Thank you.
And that's Vankleis.
Pity we couldn't have worked something out. Breach, if you would.
And Vankleis is... I'm gonna put Vankleis as... I'm gonna say mid-tier, but I'm almost leaning into meanie because Vankleis is from Generator Rex, and I haven't watched the show in a hot minute. I did binge like half of it somewhere when I was in college, but I didn't finish the whole show. And Vankleis is a very interesting character, more so based on how his ability works in reference to the hero, which is Rex, and how he's like a weirdly vulnerable villain because of his power and his inability to be away from the island in which he lives. I just thought that was really interesting, and he always seems to be one step ahead. I'm sure there's a, you know, if the show does have a proper ending, which I don't even remember if it does, there's a point where he gets, of course, like one-upped, and he loses, you know, little fights here and there, but I just think he has such an intimidating presence, and his interaction with the in-universe lore and Rex himself, I think at least puts him into a mid-tier villain, because it is as a memorable part of the show as almost any other character, I'd say.
Hurry up! We're not even supposed to be on this channel!
Cartoon Network is. Ooh, hey, pretty mama.
Johnny! Oh, the Cartoon Network's got this thing wrong. It's called Cartoon Fridays, and we're on it. Hurry up! Okay! These are our shows. All your favorite cartoons back to back, with a new episode every Friday. They're on Fridays at 7, over on Cartoon Network. You might like to switch over there now.
Somebody's coming!
We'll see you over there.
Hey!
Oh, dear.
We're gonna go with Sexy Double Trouble.
Sexy Double Trouble, R8.
Pretty cool trick, huh? Lord Hordak, I'd like to introduce you to Double Trouble. They're our newest asset in taking down the rebellion.
Apologies for being rude. I was getting into character.
I'm gonna put them on Santa's naughty list because Double Trouble isn't, like, they said at the end that they just want to be on the winning side.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very fair. And Double Trouble does everything for money, doesn't really do things to be malicious, is more so they want to have fun.
Yes. They are an actor.
An actor. Yes. So I just love Double Trouble, but I wouldn't say they're really, like, they're not a sidekick, they're their own person.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say they're bad to the bone or evil or anything like that, or much of a...
I totally think, at least talking on the evilness scale, they're really bad. They have, like, no empathy for anyone but themselves. They don't care, because they are at... They don't want to use the word because of the demographic the show is supposed to be aimed at, but they're basically a mercenary, because they work for whoever hires them and will go in and invade, like, an organization and find out their secrets. They're a spy. And they are very ruthless, but I totally agree with your placement on here, because I do not find them as compelling of a villain as Catra from the series, because Catra has so much more invested in it. This is more of, like, a role. It's a performance. It's something they can do and play and enjoy.
Yeah. Plus, Double Trouble was using Catra, but Catra was using Double Trouble, so I wouldn't really say they're a sidekick, but they're put to the side. And they're more of a tool within the series versus actually being a villain.
Okay. Alright. I'm gonna grab my boy Joker here.
Except you have to explain it to me. If you have to explain a joke, there is no joke.
Now, calm down, Puddin'.
You've forgotten what I told you a long time ago. One of the painful truths of comedy. You always take shots from folks who just don't get the joke. And don't call me Puddin'.
And this is going to be a 2-for-1. Alright. It's my list, so he's going at the top. For the sole reason of the Joker I grabbed is the Batman the Animated Series Joker, and there have been several animated versions of the Joker, all with different pros and cons, but this is my favorite kind of Joker because he's voiced by Mark Hamill. It's the end of my list. And he's from Batman the Animated Series, which is a fantastically written series that has a lot of fun episodes, but again, it is that Mark Hamill performance that really does put it over the top for me. I've just grown up with that being such an iconic role, and the Joker is, by definition, at least by my definition, a fantastic example of a villain because his relationship is so intertwined with Batman. You can have a Batman animated series of any kind, and you can pull any kind of villain you want, whether that's Calendar Man or Kite Man, you know, the real threat from obscure Batman comics. But Joker is always going to be referenced, appear, or be a part of the story. Even if he's not a part of every episode, like Batman the Animated Series, he is definitely a memorable villain, and one that I think was portrayed beautifully in Batman the Animated Series. The 2-for-1 aspect of this is the fact that without Joker, we would not get Harley Quinn.
Well, nuts to you, Mr. Smarty Bat! When I told Mr. J what I was doing, he was so thrilled he could hardly speak.
Harley!
Hi, Puddin'! You're just in time to see the...
Excuse me, I'll be just a minute.
Harley Quinn is as reliant on Joker's existence as Joker is Batman's. Because without Batman, Joker doesn't have a point, and whether or not Harley, like she is in her new animated show, goes out to become her own person, she is 100% constantly always associated with the Joker, and that's almost her greater villain, is the Joker, at least in the new direction they've taken the character. At the time of Batman the Animated Series, she didn't have that much depth to her, but she was still one of my favorite characters at the time. So if I'm just looking at the Batman the Animated Series Harley, and not the Harley that has taken, you know, transformation over the last decade, I'll bias I'm putting her here, and nobody can tell me any different.
I won't tell you different. I'm gonna go with Azula.
All right, Hare. It's time to face your doom.
What a shame. You always had such beautiful hair.
What are you doing here?
I didn't want to miss my own daughter's coronation.
Don't pretend to act proud. I know what you really think of me. You think I'm a monster.
Okay.
Toppest tier bad boy.
Toppest tier bad boy. I disagree, but make your case.
Azula is introduced, like, you see it, like, you see her briefly in season 1. You don't know who she is, but it isn't until season 2, at the very beginning, that she's introduced. Season 2, she hunts them down like a dog. Like, yes, you get a lot of her backstory and understanding for her. There is really no redemption for her. But she's ruthless, and I think, like, even at the young age of 14 years old, she is far scarier to me than, like, the Fire Lord. Mm-hmm. And even Zuko, who is the enemy for, like, over 2 seasons. Just her presence was entirely very frightening. Yeah, she's just insane, and she wants people to fear her. She enjoyed her brother's pain when he got a scar in one of the flashbacks. Like, she loves taunting and doing damage to the point that she's willing to she almost killed Ty Lee. And when, like, they first introduced Ty Lee, just because she wanted her on her side, she's like, and we're doing this.
She is a very interesting sociopath. She does not care about anyone else but herself. She wants it her way. She will hurt and do whatever she wants. I'll leave her up there. Personally, I would put her in the baddest bone category, because I think in a very different way, she is a compelling villain from Zuko, because Zuko is a character that gets and deserves a redemption arc, and we see that forming. In the same way as the show goes on, we start to see the cracks in Azula, and we start to see her facade fade away. Slowly over time, we see little bits where she, like, lets out inner demons that slip out, and, like, she loses her temper, or she'll make a comment, or something will come out, and eventually as people leave her, her mommy issues come out hard. And while she is, you know, I'll leave her up there, because I do think she is a great villain overall for the show, but she is primarily Zuko's villain at the end of the day. Because while Zuko was a villain for the group, and yes, she did hunt down the group, she was never their villain. She was Zuko's villain.
True.
She was the image that he was trying to live after. He was trying to be this perfect child that, like, the parents would always approve of, and that is what Azula was, but there's, you know, the grass is always greener argument. There's always something the other child has that's better, and something they have worse, and Azula is the negative side of what Zuko could have been had he been the perfect little child that his father wanted. Cold, calculating, naturally talented. But I'll leave her at the toppest tier. She is a badass, she scares me, and she's only 14, so...
Oh, I know I had them.
Hello, Professor. Do you have car trouble?
Oh, it seems I've locked my keys in the car.
That is serious. Jeez!
Well,
Is there a problem, Professor?
Oh, hello, number one. I seem to have locked myself out of my car.
And now he is out of cheese. Crackers! I'll need some 2x4s. I'll be right back. Bring more cheese!
It's no problem. I'll just call my auto club.
How many geniuses does it take to unlock a car door? Hey, why don't you use some chemical X? Hey, Brainiac. Did you try the door?
Silly me. Thanks, Mandy.
Whatever.
Right. Does anyone have some nails?
Let's just finish off the avatar here. We're gonna put this here.
Please, Father. I only had the Fire Nation's best interest at heart. I'm sorry I spoke out of turn.
You will fight for your honor.
I meant you no disrespect. I am your loyal son.
Rise and fight, Prince Zuko.
I won't fight you.
You will learn respect, and suffering will be your teacher. I looked away.
And I had an argument with you because you were like, Azula is obviously like a higher ranking villain than Ozai, and in the role of villain, he is not like a well-developed villain. He is a boss battle. He is what the campaign is leading to. He is the final boss. He is what everything has built up to over the course of the series.
You see that in the episode, like we just watched the other day, which is like Nightmares and Daydreams.
Yeah.
Like I loved it how it keeps going into like basically a boss fight.
Yeah, it was a good, like, spoof on the idea that it was a boss fight, plus the whole dream logic of math tests for getting pants, those good tropes and references, and the Dragon Ball references. It was very anime-inspired, but also, it was a fun episode. There's a lot of references to stuff if you go back and watch through Avatar, but that's exactly it. Like, he isn't really a fleshed-out character, because you can really count the amount of really long interactions with this character on your fingers. He isn't somebody that gets a whole lot of screen time throughout the series, and even a lot of the early screen time he gets, he's hidden in shadows, or not actually speaks, or speaks very little.
You don't see his face.
You don't see his face until, like, the third season, basically, or the end of the second season. And he is... Again, he's in a totally different category. I'd almost argue he's bad to the bone because he is a symbol more than he is a character. He is a symbol of a villain, and less so a developed character that is a villain himself. It's the eventual hurdle that Aang has to overcome to prove that he is a fully fledged avatar. So, I definitely think that Ozai serves that purpose, but I'll put him in the mid-tier because he really isn't a character in his own right.
Yeah, I think he was just going off of a lot of what his grandfather and father had done, just continuing on the line of he thinks he is spreading the wealth of the Fire... Like, he knows he's awful, but he's spreading the wealth of the Fire Nation and their control, not so much that, like, he's not being... He's a shit person. He almost killed his son. But, like, he's not really malicious for his actions. He doesn't... I don't feel like truly hates any of the nations, just sees that the Fire Nation is better.
Yes.
Superior.
Alright.
Next.
Your turn.
Ah, my turn. Well, let's go with... I'm gonna steal this one from you. But Bill Cipher.
Who would know about secret codes?
I was saving him for the end.
Fine.
No, it's fine. Ruining my list. Yeah, so Bill was one of the two characters I chose originally when I had planned this list out for toppest tier villains, because I had only come out with 2 toppest tier villains at the time and organized the rest of this list last night. But since you picked him, go ahead and start.
Bill is just a two-dimensional triangle. He is a demon. But, like, he seems so, like, oh, happy-go-lucky, just shake my hand, make a deal. But he brings about Armageddon, or Weirdmageddon. And that video you were watching the other day, like, he goes throughout history ruining people's lives to the point that, like, canon, they kill themselves just to avoid him.
Yep. Canonically, a shaman set himself on fire instead of allowing Bill into this world. Cool guy.
He has no morals. He was willing to give up and destroy his previous world, his previous home, because, like, this is where he wants to be. Yeah.
The second dimension, apparently. Bummer.
So, you have more in-depth knowledge on Bill Cipher, but he's scary for a triangle.
He's such a simple, and I do talk about this in my Gravity Falls video a bit, where he is such like a simple design character, but he is so very intimidating because the way he handles himself and the things that he is shown to do are unsettling, like taking over somebody's body, or going into their heads and stealing their secrets, or pulling teeth out of a deer's mouth, or rearranging the orifices on someone's face. Those are all horrifying concepts for a kid's show.
Yeah.
He's a really scary character. He's extremely effective. He is teased throughout the series. He is built up in a phenomenal way, and when he eventually does make his big appearance on screen, it is everything you want it to be. And each time we see him, we learn more about him. We learn more about what he can do, and we know that something's coming, and it's so heavily implied that he's a part of it, but it's left you on the edge of your seat. And he is an extremely compelling character because he's also, on top of being this strange, intimidating, weird being, he is charismatic, he is charming, he's very good at getting in someone's head, literally, and getting them into his mindset to work with him and do what he wants. He manipulates very intelligent characters throughout the show because he knows how to play on their weaknesses. And that is what makes him intimidating. Not only does he have that raw power, but he also has that intellect that backs it up, that allows him to be a conniving, like, villainous character.